Mr. President, with all due respect, if I accept your paper, you will come to my funeral. We have already met some of you in other structures in order to tell you a little bit about our initiative, to which Israelis and Palestinians, one of the Israelis is sitting here, Shlomo Brom, are taking part in. In a way, it looks a little bit surreal. In the midst of the current situation, the war, Gaza, the suffering of the two peoples, to speak about a two-state solution and a confederation between them, it's a little bit strange. On the other hand, we all know from history that usually peace is made after wars. And when the hatred gets to new heights on both sides, and like always, everyone is blaming the other side and there is much bickering, the prospects for peace are back in town. And the issue of the two-state solution and its feasibility is also back in town. We must admit, before October 7th, when we spoke about it, and we did not invent it after October 7th, but much before, people looked at us and said, well, you know, it's a very nice idea. I mean, if you, Israelis and Palestinians, agreed on a confederation of two-state solutions, who are we to tell you that it is not a good idea? So be our guests. But actually, the idea, the idiotic idea of managing the conflict. People believe that if they said the word managing, then it adds to their seriousness. So managing the conflict, as if anybody can managing and monitor the flames, it won the hearts of many people. Maybe your conflict is insoluble, and what you deserve is, from time to time you should kill each other, and then we will manage the level of these killings. It is much more difficult today to speak about managing the conflict. And the idea of the two-state solution is also accompanied by some old or new ideas about different solutions. Maybe we were mistaken. Maybe the two-state solution is not a real solution for you. You may have something else. What do you think about a one-state solution? You will live with each other peacefully, like each other, become much more friendly, and why do you need nations, states? Maybe a federation, maybe cantons. But the idea that more and more people would say, yeah, it is a one-state solution which should be there. I think that it is important for us to say to the world, don't waste your time. No chance for having a one-state solution. A federation is also a one-state. Any other solution than the two-state solution will not work. I can speak on behalf of my country. Israel was born mainly in order to do one thing. It is not the only thing, but one thing. After the Holocaust, when so many Jews could save themselves, had they been allowed to leave Europe and come to Israel, but it was impossible for them. The idea was to have a state in which every Jew will be welcome. This was the main idea of the Jewish state. Not a religious state, God forbid, or something like that. Just a state for the Jews who can come and become citizens there. And nobody, neither the British mandate or anybody else, would put a veto power, would have a veto power over the number of Jews who are absorbed in Israel. Now, once it is not a state, one state, sovereign and independent, once it is connected with somebody else, even if it is the best friend, who has the veto power of the number, it's over. The whole idea is over. And there is no need of Israel. So, this is on one side. On the other side, look what happened on the Palestinian side. 5 years earlier, the American former president, who is already the new president, suggested a plan, the plan of the deal of the century. Now, people did not notice enough that one of the articles of this plan was that it would be the Israeli right to decide upon the refugees of 48 or whoever, or Palestinians who would like to live in Palestine, to immigrate to Palestine. Not to Israel, to Palestine. I don't think that any Palestinian would accept that Israel would be the one to decide for them how many Palestinians would be absorbed in Palestine once they have their own state. So the idea of a nation state is vital in our story. And all those good people, and some of them are really good people who suggest other ideas, can save their time. It will not happen. It will not happen. So this is one very important point. But then there is another point. Is it still feasible? Look at the map. Look at the West Bank, full of settlements. Look at the numbers. About 520,000 settlers in the West Bank today, if you don't count East Jerusalem. So what do you think, that there will be a decision to have a two-state solution and in one day all the settlers will nicely go back to the sovereign Israel? And that is why, this is the difference between what happened to us after Oslo and the situation today. After Oslo, there were 90,000 people living in the West Bank. It's more than 5 times bigger. And although I believe that Israel is strong enough and democratic enough in order to implement evacuation, and evacuation is, according to our estimations, there will be, most of the settlers will be annexed to Israel, even if in our modest map of annexation of 2.25% of the West Bank, with land swap, so that most of the settlers will remain in this small area which will be annexed to Israel. But still there will be about 150 or 170,000 settlers on the West Bank, which will become Palestine, according to our wish and plan. So what are you going to do with them? And here the idea is that if you build an umbrella over the two-state solution, which will be a loose confederation, which will try to follow the example of the European Union, which also was gradually changing all the time, and it's still changing. So it would be easier to assure that those Israeli settlers who would prefer to live in Palestine as Palestinian permanent residents and Israeli citizens will have the right to do that without moving any of them from their places, while the same number of Palestinian citizens who would like to live in Israel will have the right to do it. So it will be totally symmetric. This is the idea that we are suggesting. Besides that, we worked on a joint narrative, first time in history. People said, you cannot have a joint narrative. I mean, you see everything in another way, and it is the other way around. So how can you have a joint narrative? And our answer was, there is no problem. People who are pragmatic enough and understand that peace is their joint goal can write the history together. They may interpret the same events in a different way, but they cannot really ignore facts that took place. I mean, the fact that Palestinians had to escape Israel, that they were threatened or whatever, is a fact. Israel can say, okay, the real problem is that the Palestinians were not ready to accept the UN resolution of partition. Had they agreed to the partition plan, in 1947, there would have been no war at all, and nobody would have been moved. Okay, so we can speak about it. But the fact is that the Palestinians did not accept it. All the Arab countries, there were 7 members of the UN then, rejected the plan for their own reasons, and they can explain exactly why did they oppose it. But they did not accept it. And Israel used the fact that they launched a war in order to have better borders between it and the potential Palestinian state, which was eventually Jordan. So we did succeed, and not only that, we also added another small chapter after October the 7th about the narrative of the two sides. We believe that it is possible. We believe that if somebody comes to us and says, I'm supporting I'm still supporting a two-state solution, if they don't come with the practical answer to the question, how are you going to do that? How? Then the support of a two-state solution is not enough, regretfully. And this is what we both are trying to do, to meet people, to explain the idea, and to suggest to the two parties. We met, of course, with the relevant parties, and met with some of the people in the Arab world in order to put the idea of a confederation on the agenda. That once you speak about a two-state solution, you don't do it with a full stop. You suggest a two-state solution under an umbrella of a confederation. Now, again, I must say that it is not enough. The issue of leadership is always critical. If you don't have leaders who are ready to go for very bold decisions, the fact that there is somewhere a theoretical idea of a two-state solution under an umbrella of a confederation is not enough. And I can tell you, just before I end my introductory words, after the Camp David summit in July 2000, I met with President Clinton. He was very frustrated from the failure of the summit. And this failure was eventually conducive to the Second Intifada, which was really horrible for both sides. And he said that he was quite angry with Ehud Barak, then the Israeli Prime Minister, but mainly he was angry at Arafat. And he said at a certain moment, we gave Arafat a paper and we asked him to refer to it in whatever, 24 hours or what. It's a new suggestion of the Americans. After some time, somebody said to him, the President Arafat, wants to talk to you. So he came to his hut in Camp David and said to him, Mr. President, with all due respect, if I accept your paper, you will come to my funeral. So I said to Clinton, and what did you say to him?
He was right.
Maybe.
I have my version.
Okay. I will accept your version. I promise you in advance. So he said, he asked me when he saw that I did not react to it. So I asked him, what did you say to him? He said, what could I say to him? He said something like that. I'll go to your funeral. You will come to my funeral. And I was silent. So he said, Yossi, what would you say? I said, Mr. President, my answer would be, so what? You can compare the rest of your life, some few years more, to such a big deal of making peace for your people? You can even weigh it up at all? Had he said to you, it is illogical, it is impossible, it is whatever, but to come to my funeral is an answer? Now, Miguel is saying that he was right, and maybe he was right. But even if he was right, this is not the answer. And the fact is that people like Anwar Sadat, like Yitzhak Rabin, if you wish to go back in history to Syria, Hosni Zaim in 1949, were killed when they wanted to make peace. And maybe one of the musts for making peace is to take this risk. Thank you very much.